call the meeting to order at 7:02. I'll be looking for a motion to adopt the agenda. Councilor Curtis makes the motion. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Next up, adoption of the minutes of our last regular meeting. Councilor Warwar makes the motion. Is there any errors or omissions within those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. First up, CAO Leggett.
Thank you, Your Worship. So, in front of you is let me just navigate to it here, the Municipal Enforcement Report. So, topic is municipal enforcement priorities for, do you guys want me to go through the whole thing again
That's fine.
before I read it all out? Just maybe I'll highlight the changes. I did create a line down in the communication strategy there following the presentation in the legislative meeting that notes off that administration will also begin presenting a quarterly report to council on the municipal enforcement activities, and we'll include this report on an appropriate legislative agenda meeting for discussion. And then the recommendation is only one here at this time. The council directs administration to proceed with the 2023 municipal enforcement priorities recommendations as presented.
Okay, take a motion for the recommendation. Councilor Berry makes the motion. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councilor Rudy.
So I'll just ask in this format of this meeting, just because the conversations have been ongoing with the local RCMP, with their open house, and the conversations in terms of the goals of our council, as well as making sure that they're dovetailing with public safety. How do these mesh with what the goals of the local RCMP, knowing that we give direction as to what our goals are as council? How do these top 5 enforcement goals with municipal enforcement dovetail with the goals of policing with the RCMP?
Not sure I understand the question, Councilor Rudick. So the RCMP are responsible for the crime enforcement side of things. A lot of this is sort of bylaw related, with the exception of maybe traffic and then the education piece. But certainly the education one, as I've mentioned down here, we're going to have an emphasis on property crime prevention as our goal for that one. So hopefully that'll alleviate some of the calls that the RCMP are getting in terms of the low-hanging fruit that we're seeing, the criminal element engage in, I guess, the theft of things out of the back of pickup trucks and backyards and unlocked sheds and that type of stuff. Those are all types of things we're hoping to address in that education piece.
Okay, that's kind of what I was asking, because obviously some of these are our own responsibility as a municipality, but some of these, obviously, traffic enforcement and some of the safety and education pieces, of course, would work better if we're working at same purposes, not at cross purposes with the RCMP. So I just wanted to clarify that we've had this conversation and making sure that we're continuing to work together to promote public safety and also up our game in terms of municipal enforcement.
Sure.
Okay, any other comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, Director Saskew.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is the 2023 tax sale and reserve bids, RCD, and the proposal is to set the date and the reserve bids for the 2023 tax sale. Properties that are in tax arrears for more than 2 years are placed on tax notification through Land Titles Office. If the properties on tax notification remain in arrears on March 31st in the following year of the notification, the municipality must offer these lands for sale by public auction before March 31st in the following year. This year, the town has 5 properties eligible for tax sale. The Municipal Government Act, Section 419, states that the council must set a date and a reserve bid for each of these parcels as close as reasonably possible to the market value of the parcel, and any conditions that are applicable to the sale. The reserve bids are recommended in consultation with Justin Goudreau, our town's assessor. So recommendation is that the 2023 tax sale be set for Monday, September 11th, 2023 in council chambers, and the reserve bids to be set as follows. As noted, the assessment values are listed for each of these properties, and the reserve bid is upon direct consultation with our town's assessor as to what current market value is as of March 2023.
Thank you very much. Take a motion for the recommendation. Councillor Bullock makes the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next up, we have some correspondence from Child Services Minister Mickey Amory. So, we did write a letter regarding the Child Services Office there in Vegreville. So, thank you for your letter congratulations on my appointment as Minister of Child Services, Minister of Children's Services, and for sharing your concerns regarding the CS office in Vegreville. I'm honored to serve in this role that is dedicated to enhancing the lives of young people in our province. My ministry is committed to enhancing planning, oversight, and reporting to improve the safety and well-being of children, youth, families receiving intervention services and supporting our province's most vulnerable. CS offices across the province are delivering more services by appointment to increase staff safety, protect client confidentiality, and improve efficiency. However, we continue to ensure that CS offices, including the Vegreville office, remain open to the public and that no one looking for help is turned away. Staff are always on site to assist clients who visit without an appointment during operational hours between 8:15 and 4:30 p.m. Monday to Friday. After sharing your concerns about the Vegreville CS office with the North Regional Child Intervention staff, I have been advised that although the door is always locked, there is a doorbell outside the door and signage on the door advising visitors to ring the bell for assistance or call the office's main line. I understand, however, that the doorbell is temporarily not working. Been a while. A sign has been posted on the door asking visitors to knock until the doorbell is repaired. Vegreville CS office staff have connected with Alberta Support Leadership to ensure Albertans are receiving the most up-to-date information regarding CS site operations and services. They continue to have an open and regular communication to provide the best support possible to our clients. Should you have any further questions or concerns, I encourage you to contact Mrs. Lana Halder, Acting Associate Director, North Region Child Intervention. Thank you for your continued advocacy on behalf of the children, youth, and families in Vegreville and the surrounding area, and for your dedication to ensuring accessible services are provided in your community. Wow. So it's more efficient if you lock the doors and make people wait outside.
Yes.
It never was the case before. Okay, so I'll take a motion to receive and file on this. Councillor Curtis makes the motion. Any comments? Oh, we'll start with Councillor Warwick. Didn't see it coming.
Okay, we obviously had this discussion even at FCSS today, and I appreciate that they responded back. I personally believe and would even be willing to follow up with Lana since they've made that offer, but there's a couple of things that I think from their own letter and their own words we should or would need clarification. So, I mean, they have indicated that they're delivering more services by appointment to increase staff safety. It's a little strange for anyone who's been in that building and knows that it's not a direct walk-in anyways. It already has both an internal door as well as having a plexiglass. And we've never heard of any safety concerns here, not to say that there aren't in other areas. So I guess one of the questions would be if this current model is a temporary or whether there is proposal to come back to the previous model, which was an open door, because we did not have a locked door facility. So I mean, I'm not really understanding as far as protecting client confidentiality. I mean, we have health services, Alberta Health Services here. There's no locked doors. They're able to walk in.
I do know that one of the premises they spoke on from this department before was changing the monitor a little bit so that it's not automatically looked at as just for vulnerable people, that it is a preventative measure. But if anything, now going by appointment actually does the opposite of that. It actually makes it more of a stigma if you know that people are entering there by appointment. So I think there's some questions there. The door is always locked. The doorbell outside was kind of interesting because there has now been some of our own admin staff as well as me going by, and when they state there is always someone inside, I'm not suggesting that's not accurate, but I would suggest that when you walk up to a locked door and the lights are out in the front on all 3 occasions that we checked, there's a pretty good chance people might not know what to do, especially when you ring this doorbell that's not working. And this only needed a sign and came to light after we brought it forward. So it's been operating since their opening last April, right? In that same exact format, which I think is also quite concerning. They say you can call the number, but most of the times it does not go to the local. It goes back to the main number. So I think these are a couple just little things that would need to be asked. I think it's concerning also that they say they've connected with the Alberta Supports leadership staff. So letting them know, well, they're in the same building, so I don't know how they didn't connect since last April, but maybe that's common, just, to communicate better. But I think another couple of questions they need to answer for us was, in that building, prior to this, there was access to meeting space. There's a couple of big meeting rooms that multiple user groups had used. So I guess a follow-up question would be, is this a temporary thing? Can you advise us what would happen to the access to the space that was there before? Because they sound like this is locked down and secured. So, I think it's concerning. But I do think that it could be worth it to follow back up to Lana saying, following to this letter, could you advise us of a couple things? One, there is a shared meeting space that was utilized by the community before. Is that something that's now accessible or isn't it? Is the plan currently with the locked door, is this actually the going forward operational model, or is this temporary, maybe while you're waiting for staff or whatnot? I think it's going to impact the way some of our support staff is doing things, because people are coming back to the FCSS office after going over and visiting them because they've been ringing on a doorbell that doesn't work with lights off. So I'm concerned with the letter. That's my point.
Okay, any other comments? Go ahead, Councillor.
Well, I don't really have much more to say aside what Councillor Warwick said, but, if the doorbell is temporarily not working, how many months is temporarily not? And maybe need an air horn at the door, not just a doorbell.
You think that would assist in the confidentiality as everybody's standing outside waiting for someone? Oh, I can see it. Just thought it. Go ahead, Councillor Curtis.
Thank you. I do think that we could do a follow-up letter, as we wrote the first one. Is anybody opposed to doing that? Throwing up a follow-up letter just to get the clarification as Councillor War was stated?
Sure.
Cool.
So, as of right now, we know things have changed in all different delivery models that different levels of government are doing, but it sure would be nice to get back to having that personal touch, especially in these type of services that are provided for usually people that are in need. And I really feel that some decisions are being made at this level that maybe the minister doesn't really know that much about. If the door is locked and there's no lights on, you can ring the doorbell all you want, or knock if the doorbell's out of order for 9 months. But if there's nobody in there, there's nobody in there. And there's no accountability, so.
And I guess one more thing just about that would be just asking for some of these things to be communicated to us. Even if their direction is that this is the way going forward, I would like to at least know that. It helps us plan, it helps our departments plan. Like, is this something that's temporary, the door's locked, or is the plan to phase back in? Just a little bit of giving us that heads up. If we may not agree with it, but if their direction is this is the way they're going to start doing things, and we know it, then we can tailor how we help people when we're assisting based upon knowing what they're going to do. But I feel like we're not ever being given the operational information that's impacting our residents until after it impacts them. And then we're having to react to their plans.
Okay, well, we'll have to see where this goes. But we have a motion to receive and file. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Next up, Director Saskia.
Thank you, Worship. So this is the February 28th, 2023 monthly cash statement. So we began the month with $7,996,592 and ended the month with $8,363,554. So that's a net increase in cash balance of $366,962. Some of the major sources of cash this month were $28,000 in investment interest, a GST refund of $164,000, and uses of cash were payment for Prosperity Park, $93,000, and we had an RCMP quarterly payment for $315,943. And I'll take any questions.
Quarterly payment seems a little high.
It's what's been scheduled. It's the same as the last three. This is quarter four, so January to the end of March of 2023.
Okay. Have we heard back from anybody from the RCMP regarding our request? Okay. We'll have to go a step higher next time. Okay. Any questions regarding the financial statement? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to receive and file or accept it as. Oh, go ahead, Councillor Riddick. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, councillor reports. Councillor Bullock.
Thank you, Your Worship. So on March 15th, CAL's board meeting. So CAL's Head Start students totaled 27, and 26 of them are funded actually. Family literacy, planning and setting up a triple P parenting workshop for Head Start parents, which focuses on common behavioral issues and strategies for dealing with those behaviors. The school nutrition grant pilot is underway. Breakfast club program, 560 snacks delivered each day for 11 days in February. So they're just doing a fantastic job. So we're so lucky to have CALs in our community. So that, March 15th as well, the RCMP Town Hall. So that was an interesting evening as well. So some of the concerns that were brought up, and maybe we didn't get right to the bottom of what we were there for everything, but take-home message was to be a little patient for the police officers that we have here, and they're doing the best that they can right now with the staffing levels that we have, and we're down on staff, so they're busy running all the time. March 18th, volunteered at the Vegreville Speedway Snow Drags event, which supported the fundraising efforts of the VTSS concession, Vegreville Transportation Society Services concession. There was a number of racers out there from Saskatchewan. There was a plate even from Ontario that decided to attend. They supported the fundraising concession really well, which is really great for Vegreville Transportation Society. Thank you for the town for the in-kind services with the grader to help set up out there. And a lot of people in town were sporting some Tim Hortons cups in the morning, and we know they're spending money around town, so these local events that are put on by all these service clubs are helping attract people to our town. Also, March 21st, legislative committee meeting, today's council workshop, and tonight's town council meeting. That's it for me.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lemko.
Thank you, Your Worship. March 15th, I attended the RCMP Town Hall at the Social Center. It was interesting, some of the topics that were discussed. What the RCMP were looking for was some feedback from the community regarding strategies moving forward. Understand that although the number of folks in the attendance was minimal, I would have expected more people from our community to engage in this in a positive note rather than in the negative stuff we hear about that. The RCMP are short-staffed right now, and that's no fault of the members here. And we just need to turn around and support these folks, as there's not a lot of people wanting to join the ranks of the police forces in this country. So it was a good meeting. I sat and listened a lot. On the 16th, I attended the Minburn board meeting, Minburn Foundation. It was the presentation of the audited statements and some discussions moving forward for the workshop that I'll talk about in a second here. March 20th, I sat in on the AAISA, Vegreville Stands with Ukraine related, about the Ukraine, this committee that immigration in Alberta. They talk about the challenges that are faced in the Ukrainian folks. Right now, the CUIT program has been extended by 4 months. The applications are coming in. There's more and more people from Ukraine reaching out to come into Canada. They're saying that, and majority of them are coming to Alberta. They've flagged Alberta as the place to go, and we're seeing the challenges. If you watched the news this morning, you would have seen the Free Store in Edmonton is reaching out to the community and asking for more furniture, more dressers, more mattresses for the amount of Ukrainians that are coming in need of that stuff. The fortunate part we have here in our community, the Ukrainians that come here are coming into furnished places, and that's a testament to the Vegreville Stands with Ukraine committee, who are furnishing units and assisting those Ukrainians who are choosing Vegreville. I happened to accidentally actually stop by when there's two ladies backing a trailer into an apartment, and they were members of the Stand with Ukraine committee, and they were unloading this trailer with queen-size mattresses and dressers and coffee tables and all that into an apartment for a family that's arriving this Thursday into our community. We had a family reach out from Edmonton, and I think I talked about this earlier, that are commuting to Vegreville, 2 apartments, mother, father, and a child, and then in-laws, renting 2 apartments. And they reached out to the Vegreville Stands with Ukraine, asked if they could help them find a place in Vegreville. That family is moving into a house April 1st. So they're making Vegreville their home. And so kudos to the committee who keeps plugging away, making fundraising in every aspect they can to welcome these Ukrainians. And we're probably pushing 80 to 90 strong now. And who knows how many that are here that weren't part of the vetted through the Vegreville Stands with Ukraine, who came with families. So kudos to them, and they continue. They're not stopping welcoming families. So on the 20th, I also attended the Vegreville Tourism Board meeting. It was a good meeting. We haven't met for a long time, as we lost our tourism coordinator, Angie Lanko, who moved away. And so we welcomed our new tourism coordinator at the meeting, and Michelle Gladys, who is known in the community, and she'll be a welcomed addition. And some of the discussion around the table was the corn maze and the challenges we had with moving forward, as not many organizations were interested in taking it on. What we did, a lot of the talk around the table was, maybe let's just take a little bit of a break, rejig around the thoughts of what tourism could look like, any other kind of events there, and maybe we come back to a corn maze in a year from now if there's a need for it. But the committee's excited about the challenge it faces with trying to find other tourism initiatives. So I'm excited about the future going ahead with that committee. On the 24th, the Minburn Foundation had a needs assessment workshop, and this workshop was where we hired a consultant to come and talk about the future of the Minburn Foundation as it is to meeting the needs of the community along with senior housing. A number that I found interesting was currently those folks 80 years and above in Vegreville stands at about 630. Projected down the road, in 20 years, that number will be 1,412. People looking for accommodations or places to live. So we have to do something with meeting those needs of those seniors that'll be looking for places. So the needs assessment is going to look at everything regarding amount of housing units we have, what are the challenges that we're faced with that, the costs associated, and all those things as we narrow down the workshop and those kind of items. So stay tuned. You're going to hear some more as this committee continues to put the numbers together. Tonight's workshop and this council meeting. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Councillor Rudick.
Okay, since we last met, March 14th to 16th, I was in Saskatchewan for the Saskatchewan Association of Rural Municipalities. Extremely large gathering with a lot of conversations that were quite different in some senses, but also similar to some of the things that I heard last week at RMA in Edmonton. So interesting to see the conversations there in terms of advocacy on a federal level, but municipal issues, both in rural associations. A lot of the questions that were asked were with regards to physician attraction and retention in Saskatchewan, and some big incentives that they put in Saskatchewan that are going to directly impact what happens in Alberta. So it's an interesting conversation, given the fact that people want access to family doctors in small communities, and that continues to be a pressing issue. March 14th, I also had the opportunity to meet with Dr. Leslyn Lewis, who's the Federal Shadow Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs, Infrastructure and Communities. Done a lot of conversations the last couple of weeks about the federal budget that's coming out tomorrow, talking about where the Federal Conservative Party of Canada's position is on these different topics, and just talking about some of the concerns and the budget advocacy pieces for FCM. Happy to be able to join the conversation with MD Minburn Foundation. We had a meeting on the 16th and had our audit of our financial statement. One of the good things that I'll point out here is that we've had an increase in terms of our revenue directly resulting from our decision to be able to renovate some of our suites. So it's had a direct correlation in terms of the number of people that we're able to house, also the types of people that are living there, which carried over to the workshop that Councillor Lemko was referring to that we had on the 24th. There are some interesting conversations there talking about the type of residents that are currently housed in the lodge system and how that is different from some of the other seniors housing opportunities that there are in our community, for example. And the lodge model is something that is unique to Alberta and has been in place since the 60s. But just talking about the number of people that are currently in the lodge and how they fit into the affordable housing model in terms of who lives there and what kind of proportion that they pay and how that works into funding. So very interesting conversation. It'll be interesting to share that with the rest of council when we have the rest of the report, to be able to take a look and forecast, because it is alarming to see we've got a super senior type of community, and to be able to see what's going to happen in the next 20 years is going to be rather alarming. So we're going to need to do some planning in terms of a community, never mind a province, to figure out where we're all going to live. So we need to think about that proactively and figure out a way to be able to do it in a way that continues to build revenue. And we've done some good changes in the last couple of years, but we're going to have to do some more proactive planning. I will also make note of the fact that our last legislative committee meeting on March 21st also happened to be the night of the 44th annual Wendy Brook Festival Concert of the Stars. I will bring that forward, as we have had some long-standing volunteer groups that continue to bring many people to the community over now into the second generation. So just want to make special notice of that group, because there are very many kids and adults that are participating in the arts locally. We don't often talk about that. We often talk about all of our other recreational and sporting opportunities, but want to make special notice of all of the musicians, the artists, and those that participate and help make the Wendy Brook Festival a success. And there was also a special acknowledgement of Lee Gablehouse, who recently passed away and was one of the original founders of the Wendy Brook. And tonight's council meeting, and that is my report.
Thank you very much. Councillor Warba.
Well, I thank my council for keeping everything going while I was basically on vacation since our last meeting. But I did make up for it by having 3 meetings today. So we started with our FCSS meeting, then our council workshop, and of course the meeting tonight. So from our FCSS meeting, I just have a couple notes in about 3 different places that I wanted to bring forward. So they've been going strong again with their the tax program, not done obviously. You know how busy they're still going to be, but the one thing that was a little bit of a bonus for them in previous years, there was a little bit of reimbursement that would come based upon the number of tax returns they had done, and they did let us know that they actually received a little bit higher than they expected, where there was like a base grant given of approximately $500, and then they were receiving $5 per assessment that they were helping with, so that was really good. So, you know, a little bit, it helps them obviously given how many returns they do, and they're still going to be going strong for quite a while on that. So that was really good. They have been doing a number of different youth participation, and they've had also their trauma control. And what we're finding is they're doing a very good job of getting people to participate. Was the point that they, you know, they did the youth voice chat and ended up with 18 participants of various ages between 12 and 18, which is really good when you're trying to get in extra groups. Same thing, they had over 30 participants for their trauma control, and that is, we all know how hard it is to get people sometimes out to these things. So I think they're doing a really good job. They're going to be engaging through the province, the community development unit again, and with that, it is a good program in that it does not cost additional money, and we're able to use the province's resources. But one of the things that they help focus on is facilitating public engagement, community collaboration, and working with nonprofit organizations on their volunteer and staff retention and building. So obviously in the conversations we've had, we know that's really important, and anything we can do to assist these community groups with being able to keep or grow their volunteer base is really good. So that has been a good initiative. And then just a couple of other things that I was going to mention as well is they have been working on their housing and service needs estimation survey, and we got a chance to take a good look through it. This one, of course, is different than some of the other ones that we have discussed. And this one is supposed to look at somewhat of the homelessness side, but we're not talking about just how many people are homeless. We're talking about what someone might look like, they might be on the brink of, or even that are struggling in some of their funding. So I'm, as everybody knows, not a super supporter a lot of time of surveys, because I think that they can be worded in ways that have certain outcomes to them. They sometimes are not, what do you actually know, or what's happening to you. They can often be worded in ways sometimes it's like, what do you think? And I like a survey that gives us real data and real information. And this is, from looking through it, I think a very, very good survey. It asks very specific questions that may give us some information here, but when it's done and we have it, I think it'll also just give us information in general that will help with a lot of planning, because it's asking a lot of things about your age, your demographic, about other resources or assistance you may access. There even is some employment questions, and then even some questions about what they like the most about being here, why they would feel safe within the community. And I think it's going to end up being a lot of really good information. So that's really good. And I think it's very encouraging that they're trying really hard to get this out to as many people as possible. They've been kind of recognized in the area as having some of the highest participation for groups that are helping hand out these surveys. They've even, added members through the library, and they're trying to get them out to a huge demographic. They're encouraging all of us to make sure we also go through them, because they want to get a little bit of a scope on overall what we're seeing, not just targeting to a certain vulnerable group. They want to get a good read of what we're actually dealing with in the town. So I'll leave, Councillor Curtis may have more he wants to add on this one, but I just think they have a really, really good start on this. And then the one other thing that I wanted to bring up here was just something that we need to keep an eye on, and I just have it saved up here, so I just want to pull it up. We had some current concerns before when we were talking about, subsidies and the low income rent subsidy that was going on in Alberta. So one of the things I just think we will need to continue watching is we had talked a while back about how some funding for these subsidies for low income were not actually coming out to the Vegreville. So it's particularly the one that was the temporary rent assistant benefit. Since we've been asking some questions and, kind of wondering why things are the way they were, the funding used to actually say on the website that it was available to cities. And recently their website now state that it's, it actually kind of includes areas outside. So we're hoping that that's indicative of some changes towards access. But the one that still concerns us is the funding model that's funneled through the, I always mispronounce it, but Savita out of Edmonton, and for the housing and financial supports. The biggest concern is we seem like the Vegreville residents aren't really being able to obtain it. Like, we're not able to get actual data that sort of says how many have been successful. And when they were last given an update, it was saying that there is a 3 to 4 year waiting list for a Vegreville resident to access this funding. So, I mean, it's great to announce housing and financial supports, but if somebody is needing a support, I don't think 3 to 4 years waiting for supports is doing a lot. So I think it's something we're going to maybe have to continue when it comes to the advocacy, asking the question that I love to ask, which is, why aren't all funding pools separated where we're not lobbed into the same funding for rural municipalities as what they're seeing in the city? Because every time we do, we're the last person to the trough. And other than that, I just wanted to mention that our U18 minor hockey team will be going to provincials this week. So best of luck to them. And we have a local coach, and maybe I'll let you speak to that with Dennis, but maybe you weren't going to, so we'll just do it. So our, local resident being Zenith Karmaninski and his kids, he's coaching, and those kids got a provincial silver. So nice to see some silver provincial medals coming back into town, and best of luck to our U18, and hope that they're successful this week. That's it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Curtis.
Thank you. Start March 20th with another slick call, so Senior Lincoln call. I had 5 or 6 people on the line, and always nice to converse with them and give them some information that they may not be able to hear. They're not as much on social media and that, but to bring them up to speed on what's been going on in the town, and I do enjoy those calls. I think that Councillor Rawawa left me a few things for my FCSS meeting today. So one thing is coming up as a babysitter course, but no date yet because I can't find a facilitator. So, anybody listening online, if you are or know one, please reach out to the FCSS group. Our strat plan that we were talking about, they did some community engagement, they did engagement with council, and that is being finalized. They sent it back to the consultant for some clarity on some things. We're looking to plan a meeting to review that with our FCSS board, and then bring it back up to council and have a chat with everybody about what that looks like. A couple of things left on the housing and basic needs survey that Councillor Burrell was talking about. Just some stats here. They're getting a lot of good responses right now, roughly about 138 surveys passed in so far. A month left to get those in, and portion of that 138 came from only one of the 9 partners. So there's still 8 more partner groups that are giving out the survey that haven't brought them back in yet. So hoping those numbers will go up. And then today we had our workshop as well, and then tonight's council meeting. And that's what I got.
Very much. Councillor Berry.
Thank you, Your Worship. On March 14th, we had our Health Professionals Attraction and Retention Committee. Say that's a little bit shorter. It works out fine. There's some good news on that. We have a student doctor in town right now and will be here until April the 22nd. And we have 4 student nurses that'll be here from May the 3rd till about August the 14th. So it's good to see some students coming in to be trained, if you want to put it that way, in some ways, and help out with the shortages that we have. Most other things are looking up quite well on that right now. We have one new doctor that's been here for a while, another one that's basically in training, but they're still a bit short on staff. On the 15th, we had the St. Joseph General Hospital Community Committee met, and things are working very well at the hospital right now. I think that it's going very smoothly, and they've got some new programs that are coming out, and there'll be probably quite a bit of new information coming forth as they set up some new programs. Ledge on the 21st, and on the 23rd, I was privileged to do Talk of the Town. Thank you to the administration for setting that up. I appeared, it aired this morning, and so I was representing the Vegreville Regional Historical Society, which is having a meeting tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at the event center behind the museum. And I'd just like to thank the administration for the assistance that they've given on this with the Talk the Town and with some commercials that they ran. And Jameson, I think that your staff did a really great job with the websites and setting it up there. It really looked impressive when you go on there and see one of them and take the links and go there. It just sort of goes to show what our communications group is capable of doing right now in terms of sponsoring something. And tonight's workshop and regular council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, on March the 14th, CAO Leggett and myself met with the detachment commander here, and just to go over a few things about operations, and we had a few questions that he answered for us, and I thought it was a very productive meeting. Later that day, we had a grade 6 visit here in the organization. I guess it was the 14th and the 15th, right? They came both days. They split the classes up, and they went department to department, and yeah. But it was interesting. I met them down here as the staff. They were finishing up. They brought them into council chambers, and of course, all our chairs were full, and everybody was a different councillor and directors and senior staff as chairs, and they had a lot of very interesting questions for sure. But it was really nice. It was nice that they know what each department in this organization does and stuff, and yeah. Then on the 15th, later that evening, I attended the RCMP town hall as well, and I was disappointed somewhat about the turnout and some of the negativity that was around. But all in all, I think that when everybody left, they sure had a message that the police are catching their criminals. They're not letting them out. It's some other organization within the government. So I think they felt supported, and would have been nice if we had to get a little more direction which way the community wanted to go, but maybe next time. On the 16th, I had a conversation with our MLA and Scott Mathers. Scott owns the Camrose Casino, and the decisions that the ALGC has made regarding the casino application in Edmonton to be run as a rural casino was turned down. In the conversation, I learned that it was Mayor Abergie Sohi that was the final push to convince the commission not to let this go forward. I really find it crazy that all gaming funds are not pooled in the province and distributed, but he is appealing it, and the appeal is on May the 10th. in front of the commission again, and they're trying to find someone to spearhead for our area, you know, to organize the nonprofits and the charitable groups that are going to be missing out on this opportunity. Came to my attention that the city of Calgary designates one of their casinos for rural, and the only pooling we see within the province is Camrose and St. Albert. They pool their monies, and that's how they try to bring up what the payout each night for is. But so I've talked to our MLA twice and her assistant about getting an up-to-date list. I have had conversations with FCSS, and they brought up some list, but it's from 2021. We'd like to get something more current. Scott, the owner of the casino, he's brought up the list, but everything is redacted on the list that he brings, that he's allowed to have with. So I've talked to our other municipalities in our area, and once I receive this list, I plan on getting it to them, and hopefully they can find a champion within their own municipalities and bring these nonprofits together and start a letter writing campaign to first to the ALGC and hopefully to Mayor Sohi. Scott has asked me to speak at the appeal, and I'm considering it. We'll see what kind of a response is. If we don't have any response from the nonprofits in our area, if nobody wants to do anything or to help themselves, then I probably will not go and speak. A little war out on trying to help people that don't want to help themselves. So
I'll just let you know that the library board already wrote a letter expressing our concern because there are dozens of nonprofits and local organizations, including the schools, that have built playgrounds. There isn't a facility built in this town that hasn't been built with gaming money. So the library board already did send a letter, but I think more people should be concerned.
this is a whole new campaign because those letters that the commission received had no sway. The opinion of one mayor of Edmonton had more sway on the commission than any of the nonprofits that wrote letters. But if we can get some people rallied up again to come to the appeal and write letters, then I will take on the mayor of Edmonton and I will speak. But if there's no response in our community, I do not plan on going. Anyway, it was a very interesting conversation, and hopefully our MLA will get the information that I requested, and we can rally the other municipalities in our area. Again, something very hard to understand why all the all the profits from gaming are not pooled within our province, and how municipalities can pick and choose if they share. Can you imagine if royalties were looked like that? I don't believe there's any royalties this province gets out of the city of Edmonton. If all royalty money stayed in municipalities, it would look kind of funny. But I'll bring that up with the mayor himself. So I attended the Premier's announcement in Mundare with some more funding and some extended programs with displaced Ukrainians in our province. And Minister Sani was there, and I apologize for her last trip to town where she was arrested. She got pulled over, her the driver leaving her announcement they had here. And I had seen it in my rear view mirror. So I turned around and I came back, and I was just about to let the officer know that this was a friend of mine that just toured through town. But luckily, they did it on their own. It was not a complete stop, her driver. And so it was a warning, but she said it was his own fault. So, I mean, anyway, it was a nice, there was lots of elected officials from our area at the Premier's announcement. And then we had the Ledge meeting, 21st to 22nd. I was asked to speak at RMA at a news conference. Minister Horner of Agriculture, Minister Horner, and Minister Jean. They were announcing some more funding for Rita's. So they doubled the funding that it has been the last couple of years. And so I spoke on behalf of the Alberta Ritas, and I got to spend some time with the minister and his staff, which was good. On the 23rd, I represented NATIGO, which is Northeastern Alberta Alliance for Growth and Opportunity, and we are lobbying on behalf of the Northeast on two important issues right now, and we're gaining a lot of traction. So I met with Minister Dreeshen, with Mayor Copeland of Cold Lake, the Mayor of Bonnyville, the Reeve of Smoky Lake County, and the Mayor of Lamont. And we're all taking turns within this organization lobbying different members of government, and we'll be talking to the opposition here pretty soon. And then I had a short meeting afterwards with Minister Dreeshen and Josh Billick, his chief of staff, and we're trying to find out where we can get with that. And then tonight's workshop and town council meeting. So that's my report. Again, thank you all for what you do in the community. And is there any other business of council? Seeing none, I will take a motion to go into closed session. Councilor Barry at 7:53. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much.